Let's lock in. Clarissa Shields downplays Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor's viewership numbers. So we're going to listen to what Cameron said because this is what sparked everything. Apparently, Cameron made a statement that triggered Clarissa Shields, and then she went on Twitter Spaces, X Spaces, and just went on this rant about Cameron. So first, let's take a look at what Cameron had to say about the viewership numbers. So here it is right here.
Clarissa Shields DM'd me yesterday. It was like, basically, Cam, they trying to rewrite history. I have the most watched fight ever in women's boxing history. Their first fight was 1.5 million. My fight was 2 million. So I DM'd her back. I said, "That's what's up, sis." But I sent her the new numbers with 50 million people was watching the fight, and I said, "You got some 60 million." So Clarissa Shields DM'd me yesterday.
Yeah, so basically he said you got some catching up to do, is what he said. He sent her the new numbers and said you got some catching up to do. So Clarissa Shields is going to explain this in more detail when I play her X Spaces right now. She's going to explain what happened as she sees it, which isn't far off from what Cameron said. And oh, by the way, that video appeared courtesy of It Is What It Is, Cameron and Mace podcast. Check that out. I mean, nothing but entertainment. So let's listen to Clarissa Shields.
Is a hater, and I'm gonna tell you how. Boy, you delusional. I'm gonna get you together real quick. First of all, when I inboxed Cameron, I saw something where he had said Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor had the most watched women's boxing match in history with 1.5 million viewership. All I inboxed him and said was, y'all can't erase history, bro. Like, I had 2 million viewers. More than 2 million viewers when I fought against Savannah Marshall and we headlined the bill in the UK. So we have the most watched women's boxing match. That's where it started. He didn't write me back before the fight. He didn't write me. He wrote me back after and said, "Oh, okay. Well, now you got some catching up to do." You're weird because I'm about to get you together right now, Cam. They was not the head of the bill. When they are the head of the bill and 50 million people tune in to see just the women fight, then you can say it's the most watched women's event in history. But it's not. And then all your people sitting back acting dumb as hell, like this is really facts. It's not facts. The WNBA, they have been breaking records because now, as they're doing the same.
All right, so there's some things that I want to address with this. Okay, the first thing is Clarissa Shields herself said you can't erase history. She said you can't erase history. So she's right. The history will show that 50 million people, over 50 million people tune in to watch Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. Now, she wants to downplay it and discredit the viewership numbers because she said it was the co-main and it wasn't the main event. But Clarissa Shields is leaving out some important facts. Like, for one, Amanda Serrano made the highest purse, then Katie Taylor. They had the highest paid purse of any female fighters in the history of the sport. And in addition to that, they had the most watched women's fight in the history of the sport. Now, when you talk about viewership numbers in the most watched, what Clarissa Shields is failing to realize is it's the number of people that tuned in to watch the fight. So it doesn't matter if it's a bill filler. Can you imagine when people are on the cards and they're bill fillers, most of the time when they're fighting in an empty stadium. People haven't even shown up yet. So imagine if you were the type of person who was a bill filler that could fill the stadium, before the major fight. And let's say there was someone like Carmel Moulton who was fighting in one of the one of the prelims. He was fighting on the prelim, and there was 10,000, 20,000 people sitting in their seats waiting to watch Carmel Moulton before the main event. are you going to seriously say that 20,000 people weren't sitting in the arena at the time of Carmelo Moulton's fight because they wanted to watch him fight, and the only reason they were there was to see the main event? Because if that was the case, they could have just tuned in to see the main event. Just like I mean, I've gone to fights, numerous fights, countless fights. We show up when the bill starts for us. When the first fight we want to see starts, that's when we tune in. That's when we show up. So for the people who tune in, 50 million people tune in, they said, over 50 million to watch Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. And then over 60 million people watched Jake versus Mike. So that means there were 10 million people out there who did what I just explained to you. They saw Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano and said, I'm here to see Jake and Mike. That's it. And they tuned away. So the 50 million number is legit. The 50 million people who tuned in, and really it could be more than 50 million because they're just factoring the number of homes that were watching. But there could be people watching with 4 people, 5 people in their home at a time. So that's, again, this number is way more than the 2 million you did with Savannah Marshall, Clarissa. And props to you. These records are made to be broken, right? That's what we always say. That's what we always want. So they set the bar higher. And what Cam said is you got some catching up to do. He never said anything. You're the one who made it adversarial. See, and this is what Clarissa Shields missed because actually I'm gonna let it play for a second. But this one key point is the history books will reflect that this was the most meaningful fight thus far in the history of women's boxing. Why? Because Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano got the highest purses that women have ever received in the sport of boxing. In addition to that, they got the highest viewership numbers. Whether it was co-main or main, it doesn't matter because when they were in the ring, 50 million people stayed and watched that fight. So 50 million people watched it. Just like 2 million people watched your fight. You can't erase the history, and the history is 50 million people tuned in to watch Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor fight. And oh yeah, they made the most money. So a history lesson, Clarissa. If someone asks to this point, to date, in what boxing match, women's boxing match, did the fighters make the highest purse? It's Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor too. If they ask in the history of boxing, what fight in the history of boxing attracted the most viewers in the history of women's boxing, it's Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. So you got to chill. You can't erase the history. Like, listen to what you're saying. You got to factor in what you're saying now. And then you want to downplay it because it was co-main, but they made more money than you and any of your opponents ever made. It's obviously the most influential, the most impactful, the most meaningful fight in the history of women's boxing. All right. But now we're going to listen to her carry on because there's something else I want to point out about what Clarissa Shields said. And by the way, this video appears courtesy of Fight Hype TV. Subscribe to Fight Hype for the latest and all the best in boxing and sports. Okay, so I have to reshare this again. All right. Now we're going to take a listen to what Clarissa Shields said. We're going to continue.
Now they're getting more viewership. Now, if they played right in the same venue right before LeBron and them played, I am quite sure that they would get more viewership too. But when the women headline the top of a bill, that is what you call a women's boxing event.
So again, that's wrong. If the women played in the same venue as, she's talking about the WNBA. So she said if the WNBA players played in the same venue as LeBron and they went on before LeBron, they would get more viewership numbers. Again, that's not true. And I just pointed out why. People who bought tickets to the venue would just show up right before the Lakers played. And they wouldn't, if they didn't care about that game, they wouldn't show up to watch that game. And also they wouldn't watch that game. They would just tune into something else until that game's about to start. Just like the 10 million people who didn't watch the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight. Remember, they got 50 million views. Tyson and Jake got over 60 million views. So that means that 10 million people saw that and didn't want to watch it. So there's a legitimate 50 million people that were interested in that fight.
Or a women's event. It was not a women's event. It was a Mike Tyson and Jake Paul event. The men was the head of the bill.
So that's actually not true again. It was a women's event because the women were co-main. And co-main is very important. Like, would you tell David Benavidez that his fight that he had as co-main Javante Davis didn't count. Like, that's ridiculous. Co-mains are finally getting good. They're finally putting people on. And if you know anything about Mike Tyson was always an advocate for women's boxing. And there's a documentary on Netflix with Christy Martin, and it shows how Mike always advocated that she be on his undercard, and she always put on great fights. And I remember being a youngster watching the Christy Martin fights. So yeah, like and people will be talking about Christy Martin. That's how she got her name, because she went on before Mike. But here's the thing: people weren't just watching Christy Martin because she went on before Mike. It was because she was putting on some good fights. So she was just as much a part of the show as anyone else. I remember dudes would be fighting before Christy, and I'm not watching them. I'll be like, yo, let me know when Christy's fighting. And that's when I will come in and sit down with the family and we will watch the fight. So for me, the card didn't start till Christy got on. So you're wrong about that.
And then he want to start talking about some, now I got some catching up to do. If that's what you want to call it, if that's what you want to say, first of all, listen, I have no reason to hate on Amanda or Katie or none of them. For what? Box better. What I gotta hate for? But this is what I'm saying. This fool is mad because he misspoke in the lead up to their fight, saying that they had the most watched women's boxing match in history. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's not facts. I have the most watched women's boxing event in history, where it's headlined by women, where we're leading.
If that makes you feel better, Clarissa, you can have that title. You can say you have the most watched women's boxing match that was headlined by women. You can add that caveat, you can add that exception, you can add that, and then you can keep that title. But you don't have the most watched fight in women's boxing history. You said it yourself, you can't erase history, and the history will reflect that fight belongs to Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. Sorry, it's not your title to claim. You don't have the rights to that title. Now, you said, and this is where the energy thing comes in, because Cameron misspoke and he said they had the most watched fight in women's history. They had 1.5. Clarissa Shields had 2 million with Savannah Marshall. So she goes in and she DMs Cameron to remind him, oh, you got these numbers wrong. I actually have the most watched fight with Savannah Marshall. So Cam doesn't say anything. And then when the numbers break, that they smashed the record. They didn't just smash the record. They obliterated the record. It was like they nuked the record. So once they did that, right, Cameron responds and says, you got some catching up to do. And that makes her mad. But you were the one who sent off that energy, because you're the one who he misspoke. You could have went about it a different way, or you could have just left it alone. But instead, you chose to DM him directly and be like, hey, you misspoke. It's actually me. So now, after they smashed the record, he hit you back with your own energy, and you didn't like it. So now he's a fool. Now he's no, he just matched your energy. And I think this is the problem that's obviously apparent in your personal life. When you come at someone some way, they're going to match your energy. So Cam matched your energy, and now you're mad and you're going off on him, and you're trying to downplay Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, who really have nothing to do with that exchange you had with Cameron. And this is what happens, and this is why Clarissa harms herself and she needs like a PR person or something. But we're going to continue because she goes even further. Now let's listen to what Clarissa said.
The card. It's nothing against Serrano. It's nothing against Katie. But y'all cannot erase history. Then he's talking about he gonna inbox him back. Well, yeah, all right, you was right about that, about the 1.5 and 2 million, because I sent him the article where it showed that I was the most watched women's boxing match in history with over 2 million viewers.
Why are you sending an article about this? She's like, I sent him an article. This is bothering her so much that she had to DM him. She had to send him the article. So it's like, you really making this a thing. You're really making this a thing. So you done made it so much of a thing that once that record got smashed, and he just responded with, "You got some catching up to do, sis," because he knows how much it matters to you now that you've shown it. Now that you done did all the research, you done sent it to him, you done emailed him a dissertation about everything. So now he knows. So he just hits you with that little quick. You got some catching up to do, and now you big mad. You done took to Twitter. So it gets even worse. Listen to this. Like, she goes into me this right here.
But then he writes and say, but now you got some catching up to do because they just got 50 million people watch they fight. Man, I don't know. You niggas ain't tricking me. Y'all not making me mad. Are y'all crazy? And I want to say something to Cam. I can't stand you niggas who hate black women. I just can't stand it. Y'all, I don't know when you ever done reached out to me and said, congrats on the fight. Good job. You did this. You did that.
So now it turns into Cam hates black women. He just called out. Now, let's replay this. Cam incorrectly states that they had the highest watched fight in women's boxing in the history of women's boxing, right? So he says their 1.5 was the most watched fight in the history of women's boxing. He was incorrect. It was actually Clarissa Shields at the time with 2 million with Savannah Marshall. So he incorrectly made a statement. And so Clarissa Shields felt the need to correct him on this, send him the articles and everything, to which he said, my bad. You are right. So then they have the rematch and they smash the record. And then once they smash the record, he responds with a fact and says, well, you got some catching up to do because now 50 million people watch them, right? And Clarissa Shields now is upset and says he's disrespected her and he doesn't like black women. How is that the case? Why couldn't she just respond how Kim responds, saying, oh, my bad, you got that. I'm gonna go after the record. I'm gonna break that record. Why does it have to now be you N-words ain't fooling me, and why you always got to go after black women? Nah, you went after him because if you never would have sent that DM, this never would have been a thing. He never would have said anything to you. Or if you would have corrected him in a different way, right? A more respectful way, it could have been nothing. You didn't even have to address Cam. You could have just tweeted. You could have did something else. You had to DM this man. You had to go straight to him. So now that he said what he said to you, you want to make it about everything but what it actually is. The numbers. He didn't make up the numbers. Just like you reported the numbers to him, he reported the numbers to you. A fair exchange is not a robbery. He didn't take it a step further. He didn't do anything. He just said you got some catching up to do, which you do. Whether you like it or not, they got paid more than you. More people watch their fight. You're not going to take away those facts. Okay, you want to add a caveat. The fight that was headlined by women. Okay, let's say they have a trilogy. Let's say they have a trilogy. I guarantee you they smashed that 2 million mark. I guarantee they smash it. Especially with the controversy that's been building. Controversy sells. So the first fight, you had a controversial decision. People want to see it again. The second fight, another controversial decision, plus these excessive headbutts that now everyone is digging in Katie Taylor's past, seeing that she won a fight against, I think her name was like Vontage, with a headbutt. She headbutt the girl, and the referee stopped the fight because the woman couldn't continue after a headbutt. Everyone knows about the Chantel Cameron fight. She dropped Katie Taylor. The ref called it a slip. Then Katie Taylor came off the ropes, headbutt Chantel Cameron, and got a split decision against Chantel Cameron, where everyone's saying you count the knockdown, you deduct the point for that blatant headbutt, and Chantel Cameron should win. There's controversy. So that those controversies give Katie Taylor options. Katie Taylor can fight Amanda Serrano, and she'll do more than 2 million, I believe. She can fight Chantel Cameron again, and I think that fight will come even come close or smash 2 million. I definitely know the Amanda Serrano trilogy would, because of the extended controversy, the 2-time controversy, right? I know that fight would do more than 2 million. So what are you really saying? Like, what is it that's really fueling this anger deep down inside? Because Cam didn't say anything inaccurate. He didn't disrespect you. He didn't call you any names. He strictly stuck to the numbers. He was on subject with what y'all were talking about, right? He didn't send you an ad hominem attack. He didn't send a personal attack. You were talking strictly about the numbers, and he just strictly brought up the numbers. And now you want to make it about Cam hates black women. Like, I just, this is the stuff that gets on my nerves. Like, no, he doesn't hate black women for calling out an accurate fact. Okay? You are the one who's being aggressive. You are the one who's disrespecting Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. You're downplaying their accomplishment because you're saying they want the head of the bill. You're the one calling him foolish and dumb because he misspoke on something. And now that what he said is now vindicated because they smashed the record, and he pointed out to you and said, well, either way, it's irrelevant now because you got some catching up to do. Now you mad because you're no longer in the position of power. You had one over Cam. He was wrong. You called him out. Yeah, I'm the GOAT, blah, blah, blah. And then you saw they didn't just double, triple, quadruple your record. They blew it out of the water. So now you're the one trying to find ways to discredit them. You want to discredit their fight. You want to call Cam an idiot. Now you want to make him a hater. The only person hating is you, and it's sad you can't see that. He's not trying to erase history. He respected your numbers. When you said you got 2 million, he respected the 2 million. You're the one trying to erase history. You're the one trying to put exceptions and hurdles over how now your 2 million is a legit 2 million. Their 2 million is not. You're the one being a hater, and you can't even see it. And that's the problem. All right, we're going to finish out this, and then I'll wrap it up. I mean, this video's already been longer than I anticipated, but this is just the type of behavior that makes people not like you. And I don't think that Clarissa Shields understands that sometimes. When she does this, it's almost like she places her value in insignificant things. And all right, we're going to take a look at this stuff.
Never in life. But then you want to come talking some shit in my motherfucking inbox. You want to make your little post. Oh, yeah, Clarissa Shields inboxed me. It's Claressa, my dog. It's not Clarissa. Let's start there.
That's another thing they do that I don't like. Like, oh, it's Claressa, not Clarissa. Let's start there. Like, they did that with a certain candidate. If you say the name slightly different or whatever, then they want to make it look like it's a disrespect for saying someone's name. Like, look, at the end of the day, and then she said, you inboxed me. No, you inboxed him. This is the point I'm making. Everything you're doing is making yourself a victim. You're making yourself like someone's attacking you. No, you started it. And now you can't handle it. You started it when you thought you were in a position of power. You started it when you thought you was checking Cam. But in the end, you ended up embarrassing yourself. So now you want to come up here and play victim because he went to his show and he pointed it out. So now you want to sit there and make it look like he's attacking you. Nah, yo, that's not what happened. And I'm telling you right now, that's not going to go over well with the public. You doing that. And then you making it seem Cameron and Mace have Stat Baby on their show, a black woman. How many shows you know put someone on like Stat Baby? Like, for real, for you to sit there and say that. Not only did they put Stat Baby on straight out of college, they gave Stat Baby her own show where she does her own thing. A young black woman into this game. Hell, I wish I had that coming straight out of college. I would have done something different. They put on for Stat. What are you talking about? Just because they're calling you out on your mess, now they hate black women. Come on, man. Come on.
Let's start there. And then you don't even know how to celebrate another black woman. But then you talking about, nigga, you don't even know women's boxing. You don't know boxing because you talking shit to Shakur.
Now she's bringing Shakur in. So I'm gonna just drop it there. But again, you can't celebrate another black woman. How about putting on a young, talented black woman like Stat Baby, straight out of college. They didn't put on another bro. They didn't make it a bro show. They didn't put on someone around their age who, whatever. Nah, they put on a young, talented black woman. What you mean they can't celebrate a black woman? What you talking about? Look, when things don't go your way, or if someone's challenging your perspective, you don't always have to go to ad hominem attacks, because that's what she's doing now. You see, she's personally attacking Cam. Cam never attacked her personally. He just stuck with the discussion they were having, the numbers, strictly with the numbers. Got some catching up to do. Now she's making all this stuff personal. She wants to call him a misogynist and someone who doesn't like women. This and that. Like, come on, man. What are we doing here? At the end of the day, we're talking about boxing. Clarissa Shields, you should be figuring out who you can fight to even come close to that 50 million number and how you can get it done, right? And instead of trashing fighting on undercards to build up your popularity, which is the way it's been done since forever in the sport of boxing. Canelo Alvarez used to fight on Mayweather's undercards. Go back and take a look at it. Go look. Richard Schaefer used to be the one putting on the fights, and he always put Canelo on Floyd Mayweather's undercards. And that's how I got to discover Canelo Alvarez. Well, I knew about Canelo Alvarez for a long time, but what I'm saying is, like, I got to see Canelo on the big stage all the time because he was fighting on the undercards. That's what Carmel Moten's trying to do. Carmel Moten's trying to get on everyone's undercard. Perhaps you can learn, and instead of being a hater, why don't you try to co-main on Serrano, Taylor, Serrano 3? Why don't you try to co-main on that? Perhaps y'all can make those numbers even bigger. And I've already suggested this, where you have a card where Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Clarissa Shields, Alicia Baumgartner, all of them fight on the same night. Why don't y'all try doing something like that? Instead of hate, congratulate. If you notice, some of the best channels, some of the best are, where people collaborate. Like Club Shay Shay is Club Shay Shay, but Club Shay Shay is interviewing other people. He's giving the spotlight to other people. Right? And you see, like, being able to work with other people is important. And Clarissa, I like Clarissa. Personally, I think if like I said it before, I'll say it again. If you make everyone the same weight and they got to fight Clarissa, I think Clarissa would win. But that's just my opinion. And I respect anyone else who thinks Amanda, Katie, because they're very talented in their own right. So, again, we don't know who's going to win a fight until you make the fight. But I do think she has a claim for being the best. 2-time Olympic gold medalist. She's moved up and down in weight classes. She's taking on tough fighters. And although they say, and this is the thing they do to discredit Clarissa, and I don't like it because they say, oh, there aren't as many good fighters in the heavier weight divisions. But as you know, when you move up in weight, all it takes is one punch. Like the heavier the weight division, the more powerful the fighters are, and the more dangerous each punch is. So when she fought Savannah Marshall, although you want to discredit that was a very dangerous fight, you know, and she moved up to heavyweight and all those things. So you got to give her credit for that. But giving her credit is hard to do when she's trying to discredit and send personal attacks at everyone else. It's a disgusting thing. Perhaps Clarissa Shields should just focus on planning and setting goals and trying to achieve those goals instead of attacking people and trying to, you know, blame people and play the victim game, because that's not going to work out very well. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like, share, subscribe. It's Caden. I'm out. Peace.